ABC 10 News at 11 starts now.
Shots rang out in the quiet of the evening near Spring Valley. A man was left dead in the street, and now a killer is on the run. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. That shooting happened near Harness and Preciosa Streets in La Presa just before 5:30 tonight. Our ABC 10 News reporter Anthony Pura is in Spring Valley, where deputies say they believe the victim was targeted.
And the investigation ongoing into the night as deputies are expected to remain on scene for several more hours. Several streets surrounding the 1500 block of Preciosa Street in La Presa blocked off Thursday. A massive law enforcement presence responding following reports of a shooting around 5:30 p.m.
When they arrived, they found an adult male with trauma to his body. Upon trying to render medical aid, they determined that the male was actually deceased.
Deputies have described the victim as an adult male, but have not yet identified him. They have not named any suspects, but said it appeared to be an act of targeted violence, adding there did not appear to be any current danger to the community.
The circumstances right now don't appear to be very random, but again, we're still investigating it.
At this point, homicide detectives have not yet determined a motive. In La Presa, Anthony Pura, ABC 10 News.
This is part of the science to making sure that it is safe for all of us.
The pause on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine continues tonight as doctors try to reassure people the risk is 1 in a million. Our ABC 10 News reporter Laura Acevedo spoke to a South Bay leader who got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine back in February and has had 0 side effects.
The mayor of National City took to social media earlier this week to reassure her community that this pause is exactly what's supposed to happen. In November, National City Mayor Alejandra Sotelo Solis joined the Johnson & Johnson vaccine trial. In March, she found out she had the placebo and was then offered the real thing.
I didn't have any symptoms or reactions.
After the FDA and CDC recommended a pause on the 1-dose shot, she wanted to assure her community the pause is necessary.
A pause is a good thing. A pause means accountability. A pause means that science is doing its job.
Local doctors agree, pointing out that only 6 out of nearly 7 million people who've received the vaccine have had the rare but serious blood clotting reaction.
People have to balance that with the risk of getting COVID, the disease, and dying of the disease, which is still happening all around us.
Dr. Mark Sawyer is a local infectious disease specialist and a part of a vaccine safety panel for California and several other Western states.
It's sort of just a double review of the same information that FDA and CDC are looking at.
Dr. Sawyer expects J&J vaccinations to resume once everything is thoroughly reviewed.
I think it is likely that a recommendation will be come forward to continue using it in certain circumstances.
National City's mayor hopes people with fear or questions will do their research.
And it's okay to have questions. It's okay to, have a little bit of hesitancy, but to have that fear overcome.
Laura Acevedo, ABC 10 News.
City and county leaders were among those getting their shots after eligibility expanded today. Mayor Todd Gloria and County Board of Supervisor Nathan Fletcher rolled up their sleeves this morning. Gloria got his vaccine at the municipal gym at Balboa Park. Fletcher, a Marine veteran, got his at the VA Medical Center in La Jolla. As vaccine eligibility expands across California, Governor Gavin Newsom is touting another major milestone we're about to hit.
Roughly 50%, half of the population in the state of California that is eligible to receive a vaccine has done so. 49% to be exact. By midnight tonight, likely we will pass that threshold. Half the population, 50% of Californians that are eligible to receive a vaccine.
Governor Newsom also stressed the Johnson & Johnson vaccine pause is not affecting the state's rollout, and efforts will continue to focus on the state's most impacted communities.
There is also growing concern in parts of the U.S. where coronavirus cases have climbed 30% in just the last month. Triage centers are now set up outside 8 Michigan hospitals. 24 of the state's hospitals are at 90% capacity. Meanwhile, frustrations reached a boiling point on Capitol Hill. Congressman Jim Jordan questioned Dr. Anthony Fauci, demanding to know when the nation can get back to normal.
Right now, we have about 60,000 infections a day, which is a very large risk for a surge. We're not talking about liberties. We're talking about a pandemic that has killed 560,000 Americans.
Pfizer also shared that Americans will need a booster shot 6 to 12 months after their first dose. After that, it will be an annual vaccine.
Pfizer is now testing its vaccine in children ages 2 to 5. Stanford Medicine began administering doses to that age group yesterday. The goal is to see if the Pfizer vaccine is safe and effective for children. Researchers also want to find the right dosage to give. 144 children will receive 3 doses during the first phase of the clinical trial. Currently, Pfizer is authorized for emergency use for people ages 16 and older in the U.S.
And here are the latest numbers on coronavirus in San Diego County. More than 280 new cases were reported today. That brings our total to over 274,000. There were also 5 new deaths. More than 3,600 San Diegans have died from this virus.
San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria is proposing spending $4.6 billion to help San Diego recover from the pandemic.
Amid a potentially subsiding pandemic that has devastated our local economy, our attention is now turning toward recovery, and this budget invests in that.
Gloria released his first budget proposal today. It includes $10 million in nonprofit and small business loans, $10 million for the convention center, $10 million to fight homelessness, but it also decreases police overtime, with the money going to the new independent commission on police practices.
The San Diego Police Officers Association responded to the mayor's proposed budget, saying, quote, we reimagine the San Diego Police Department. It requires an investment in the department to improve training, to move back to a community policing model, to improve response times, and to keep us competitive with other departments. It requires more resources.
In a rare move, the Pentagon has confirmed a leaked video does in fact show a real unidentified flying object. Take a look. The video was taken by a Navy pilot in 2019. The Pentagon said this and other images are part of an ongoing investigation. The Navy said there was an increase in UFO sightings throughout 2019, particularly over ships near the San Clemente Island. And we spoke to former Top Gun pilot Ed Rush about the sightings. He said the shapes are most likely another type of aircraft. He said what's more exciting is the fact the Pentagon was transparent with these images.
At least this one instance, our government took the time to say, look, this is real footage and we're not exactly sure what it is.
A task force was created last August to improve the understanding of these sightings. In June, intelligence agencies are expected to declassify findings about the images to Congress.
The U.S. is delivering a major blow to Russia's economy by imposing strict sanctions against the country. The White House said this is in response to last year's massive SolarWinds cyber attack against U.S. agencies. It's also due in part to the bounties that Russia reportedly offered the Taliban against U.S. troops in Afghanistan. Today, President Biden called the sanctions proportionate to Russia's aggressions.
We want a stable, predictable relationship. If Russia continues to interfere with our democracy, I'm prepared to take further actions to respond.
The White House also said that it expelled 10 Russian diplomats from the country believed to have influenced the 2020 presidential election. U.S. intel officials, they do predict Russia will likely react to these measures.
For the 5th night in a row, protesters gathered outside the Brooklyn Center Police Department in Minnesota. The crowds are calling for justice for 20-year-old Dante Wright. He was fatally shot by former police officer Kim Potter Sunday during a traffic stop. She had her initial hearing today on a single charge of second-degree manslaughter. Wright's family said that Potter being charged quickly was a step forward, but not enough.
Unfortunately, there's never going to be justice for us. The justice would bring our son home to us, knocking on the door with his big smile, coming in the house.
Potter is scheduled to appear again in court in May.
For the first time, former police officer Derek Chauvin spoke in the courtroom in his trial for the death of George Floyd.
I will invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege today.
That was Chauvin choosing not to testify. The defense rested its case today. Before wrapping up, they made the case for several factors that could have led to Floyd's death. Legal experts say they are trying to create a reasonable doubt.
Defense Attorney Nelson did a good job on direct, creating enough to work with, essentially making lemonade out of the lemons that he's been dealt. But with the skill of the cross-examination, it just became apparent that it was just grasping at straws.
In closing arguments, they start Monday, then the jury will be sequestered during deliberations.
Your voice, your vote. Dr. Kalia Weber, will take over the state assembly seat that had been held by her mother. The registrar of voters certified those results of the April 6th special election. Weber finished with nearly 52%. That was enough to avoid a runoff election. Marco Contreras finished second with 32%. The seat became vacant when Dr. Shirley Weber became Secretary of State.